Breitling's had a really good 2021. But why do I want an older one? Hi everyone and welcome to Shaluso, and yes, today it's another episode of Watch on My Mind. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, mostly because there's been so many good new watch releases. I haven't really been able to concentrate on the ones that I'm looking for myself, because every time I look at one of these new releases I want them, and then a week later, a few days later, there's another new watch that comes out. But that being said, now that things have sort of cooled down for a little bit, there's not as many new releases, I've been able to get back into exploring other models, and I've got to be honest, the Breitling Avenger GMT has caught my eye. Before I get into talking about the watch itself, let me talk you a bit through my journey on how I got to it. So Breitling has been on my radar since last year with the new Chronograph. I love it. I love the way that looks. It looks amazing. And for the longest time, I really was focused on getting one of those. Then over the last few months, I've started looking at older chronomaths, ones that were pre the sort of 2000s era 44mm ones, the original ones, the more vintagey ones that still had the cool rider tabs, but weren't the full-on high polish all over sort of things that they were for the majority of the 2000s. Then that got me thinking, okay, what other Breitling chronographs can I look at that aren't the Chronomat, which is new, thinking maybe, okay, if I don't want to spend that much yet, and that aren't the Navitiming either, because for me that's just too predictable. I like having watches that aren't sort of the stereotype. Then that got me onto the Avenger. On top of that, my good friend Mr. B is always raving about his Avenger, and then when I saw it in a video next to the Super Avenger and a Breitling Heritage, the blue on it really stood out to me. But the thing is that also the Avenger Chrono is a little bit too chunky for my liking. But I was still within the range, and then I remembered I also kind of want to replace my GMT. My Steinhardt, because as I've said a few times already, for me, I'm at that stage where I'm kind of over the homage thing and it just looks too much like a Rolex. I want to get rid of it and replace it. And with that, I was thinking, what about the Avenger GMT? Now the Avenger itself is actually, ironically, a product of the 2000s. It is a product of the big and brash Breitling era. And at 43mm, it's not small, but my bigger concern is that it is nearly 53mm in lug to lug. So I definitely need to try it on to see how it fits, but what's really attractive to me about it is how thin it is. It's 300 meters water resistant still, but it's only 12.1 millimeters thick. Now obviously that's down to it having the same movement as in my Steinhardt, an ETA 2893-2, and that means it's not even a true GMT, which I've also voiced that I kind of didn't like, because I do like the idea of it being easy to change when you travel. But the big advantage is this has a bidirectional bezel, which my Steinhardt doesn't. So that kind of circumvents, in my mind at least, the whole true GMT, color GMT, traveler GMT thing. If you want to know more about those, I actually did a video about those. And after actually doing that video, I have come to the conclusion that the whole calling of it a true GMT is kind of misleading, because really they're just GMTs for different purposes. But you can check out the video if you want to see more about that. Bringing it back to the Breitling, I kind of realized that it meets a lot of my criteria in what I want in a GMT watch. Obviously a big thing for me is having that bidirectional bezel, because it means you don't need to worry about jumping the hour hand as much. You can just rotate the bezel in 1 hour increments and makes it a lot easier. And then also it does look quite nice. Granted, it is still full high polish, which is a bit over the top for me, but also there's the option of getting it on a ton of Breitling OEM straps. Putting it on a sailcloth strap I think would look really badass. The blue dial is stunning. There's really a lot to like about it. And the best thing is it's not really that expensive. It retailed for around $4,000 US, and on the pre-owned market it sells for about $2,500 to $3,000 depending on condition and which strap, etc. Now I say retailed because this particular generation of GMT that I'm after is the Avenger GMT that ran from 2015 to 2019. So it's a relatively short production life as well before they replaced it with the current one. The current one that they launched in 2019, while that does have the alternating polished center links and then satin on the outside, so it's a bit more discreet, for some reason they got rid of the GMT bezel altogether and just put a 60-minute dive time bezel, which is only slightly less useless than this, which has a dive bezel, but at least the insert has the 24-hour increments. They didn't even bother with the current one. So for me, that just represents a great opportunity in getting something pre-owned. I might even actually venture out to get this pre-owned directly from a person instead of from a store, just to further explore the idea of, buying pre-owned, seeing that experience, and hopefully sharing that with you guys. But I'd love to know what you guys think of the Breitling Avenger GMT. I still need to try it on before I make a final decision, but I'm definitely leaning towards it. So I'd love to know what you guys think, and let me know what other GMT alternatives do you think that there are in that sort of, maybe let's call it sub $5,000 category, that aren't the Tudor Black Bay GMT, because I've already sort of had my Black Bay experience, and that are still interesting and sort of off the beaten path, but I obviously still have a GMT movement and a proper rotating bezel. I'd love to hear you guys' suggestions in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you want to see more pictures and infographics of watches as featured throughout this video, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Shaluso. If you want to see more videos of watches, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out. In any case, thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.